Some time ago now, maybe even over a year ago now, I made a video about the double standards within the Percy Jackson and Reyna fandom. And, well, there's been a lot more that's happened since then. So this is the double standard of the Reyna fandom, part 2. Now, if you haven't seen the previous video, I will be carding it here and link it in the description box, but you don't necessarily need to have watched this to enjoy this one. It's just basically a continuation that has only one connective point, in that there is another character from that video that is being talked about today. And I'll only be talking about 3 characters and the double standards towards them, as I did with the previous video as well. First one I want to talk about is Annabeth Chase, one who was featured in the previous video, because Annabeth unfortunately has become a character that has faced continuous vitriol within the fandom. And as many people know, I did do a video on about why the fandom hates Annabeth Chase, which I'll also be carding here. But the one that I want to talk about today is the sort of lack of understanding of why Annabeth continues to support Luke and see the best in him. And the reason why I feel it's not necessarily a double standard, but why that has continued to be focused on with Annabeth as a failing of her character, is an issue for me because of the fact that people then don't go on to recognise the fact that Luke was in fact a predator. He had romantic feelings that were hinted and confirmed in Heroes of Olympus, but hinted at in The Last Olympian when he was about to die, and then does die. But they are confirmed to have been actual romantic feelings from a 23-year-old boy, well, not even boy, from a 23-year-old man towards a 16, was she even 16? She's like 15, 16-year-old girl. And yet, continuous discussion is about how ridiculous it was that Annabeth continued to defend and stand up for Luke, the person who did in a sense help raise her as a child, and then continued to show the best side of him around her. Like, he was very much her idol for a long period of time, and he does show the kinder side around her consistently. Annabeth is someone who latches on to people very easily because of how she grew up, and she does the same thing with Luke. Luke only really occasionally shows the bad side of himself to others. He doesn't really show it to Annabeth. He shows this kind side to her. There's only been a few cases, like obviously when he passes the sky to her and leaves her there, basically using her as bait, that I can understand the conversations of why it's ridiculous for Annabeth. Well, not even ridiculous. I wouldn't consider it ridiculous for Annabeth to still believe in Luke. But the fact that that is focused on so much, and the fact that Luke, a grown man, had romantic feelings for a child, is never ever discussed. There are lots of people who don't, when I've brought it up, have been completely unaware of this fact. And yet, the discussion of the fact that Annabeth trusting in Luke is the bad thing, and not that her having trust in Luke is based on the fact that he has kind of allowed her to do that by being the sole person in her life who believes in her and gives her, faith in herself. I don't know, I know it doesn't fully correspond, but there's just a lot of backlash about how Annabeth treated the whole Luke situation, and nothing remotely related to how Luke treated Annabeth in this situation in relation to him being romantically interested in her. Editing Fran here, just adding to that, it's not only the fact that no one focuses on the romantic issues that are there, but it's that when people bring up how they don't understand why Annabeth could trust in Luke, they don't talk about the fact that Luke is a manipulative character. He finds ways to help manipulate people to be on his side and to believe in him. And that's what he's doing with Annabeth. So that's also forgotten. Like, the sole blame for Annabeth's continued belief in Luke becoming and being a good person is solely put on her, and not focused on the fact that he's manipulating that situation. Food for thought. just want to bring it up because I feel like there's a lot of things that are being missed here that should be the priority of a discussion. I'm just saying. The next one I want to talk about is Calypso. Now, I did do a video with Unclaimed Demigod, which I'll card here, which was to do with the Calypso and Leo relationship. And the main thing that we discussed, which I feel like is important to recognise, is the fact that, yes, Calypso is a pretty toxic person to be in a relationship with, but so is Leo. And this is the thing that's missed out. Yes, Calypso is mean to Leo. Calypso belittles him. She's also incredibly old because she's immortal, although that's a whole, well, that's a discussion for another time, and also was mentioned in that video. But like, the vitriol against Calypso of being a bad, terrible person is not given the same weight to Leo, who does the exact same thing. He doesn't respect Calypso's boundaries. He doesn't seem to respect Calypso. He's basically taken her from everything she knows and expects her to be perfectly okay with the way in which the world is now, and doesn't really take the time to, you know, allow her like breathing room to be like, hey, things are very different from ancient Greece. And also she doesn't have powers anymore until, obviously, discussion later, because spoilers, well, it's not already spoilers, but she slowly figures them out. And the relationship does end, but again, on a break. But the vitriol against Calypso is 10 times worse than the discussions of what Leo does, which is, in my mind and in the text, just as bad. And yet, Leo does not receive the same amount of hate that Calypso does for their relationship. And it just doesn't sit right with me. It's something that just doesn't make any sense. If they're both the same to each other, if they're both unkind to each other, they should surely be receiving the same level of dislike. But again, it comes into the fact that Leo is a fan favourite and double standards against female characters. The same thing has happened with Piper, of people hating Piper for breaking up with Jason because she wanted to figure out who she was. People blame Piper for Jason being sad. Sometimes relationships don't work out. You don't blame someone for breaking up with someone. You don't do that. Stop. And to go into the final one that I want to talk about is one that I've only recently discovered, and is one that actually like angers me to my soul, which says a lot, because there are a lot of things about this fandom that do irritate me on many levels. But it is to do with Reyna, and particularly Reyna's somewhat relationship with Nico, or their friendship. And it is people who are saying that Reyna has betrayed Nico because she joined the Hunters. Let me say that again. People are saying that Reyna betrayed Nico for joining the Hunters, because that's what Bianca did, and Bianca betrayed Nico. So going back to the one that I talked about in the first video, of Bianca being a betrayer of Nico. All of this thing about how Reyna has betrayed him. Firstly, their relationship only happens in Blood of Olympus. That is the only time they interact in this series. It's Blood of Olympus, when they were getting the statue back to Camp Half-Blood. That is the extent of their friendship, except maybe some of that. Well, we didn't really see it, but was it sort of like the consultations that Nico does when he's at Camp Jupiter with them? That's it. That's the extent of their friendship. Yes, it's deep, and he opens up to her, but they are not close. She's not like another sister for him. Yes, they were close, but they then went to separate camps, and obviously we have the communication issues. But in canon, in the books, they have not spoken since Blood of Olympus. And by the time that they meet again, or by the time that we see Reyna again, it's been about 7 to 8 months since the events of Blood of Olympus. Their relationship is not that deep. If it was, Nico would have been going back to Camp Jupiter more regularly to see Reyna. And then again, the main part of this, Reyna's life cannot and should not be dictated by Nico's wants. They aren't family, they're friends. And also, this is Reyna's choice. Reyna's alone. It should not be decided on, oh, I don't want to hurt Nico's feelings. Because, sorry to say to Nico fans, his feelings are irrelevant. This decision was for Reyna alone. Something to make her happy. Something for her. There is no justifiable reason to call Reyna a betrayer for joining the hunters for her own happiness just because it may hurt Nico's feelings. They aren't that close, and it's not his decision. There are so many things that are brought up within this fandom that just don't make logical sense to me for why people get angry at predominantly the female characters for things that male characters do on the regular, but also in reality would not make a difference. Piper's breaking up with Jason. Does it matter? No. She wanted to be happy. She wasn't happy with him. End of. Calypso and Leo, yes, it was a toxic relationship, but on both ends. You can't just blame one and not the other. Reyna choosing her own happiness over a small friendship with Nico, who again, she can meet. Like, it's not like they'll be completely separate. The hunters do go around meeting people. And then Annabeth being the fact that, yes, she believed in Luke because he was the only thing that she knew, the one person who actually cared for her regularly. And then not focusing on the fact that he was a predator. Pretty important. There's just a lot of things that I just truly do not understand that are looked over in this fandom. And it really disappoints me. And the fact that I've had to make a part 2 for this video is even worse for me. And just, I don't know what it is, but I feel like there needs to be a sort of reality check within this fandom of recognizing that some things that we think, do and feel are biased. There is a bias within this fandom of looking at particular characters with a more critical lens than others. But these things need to be looked into. So self-critique your own thoughts and critiques of a character. Are you thinking this because it's true, or are you thinking this because you have a little bit of a bias because, in the case of Calypso and Leo, you like Leo more, so you're automatically going to hate Calypso more because you like Leo? Just think of these sort of biases when you go into situations like this. I have my own. I 100% know that. I need to figure out what to do with that and, be a little bit more self-critical of myself and my ideas. But yeah, that's basically it. These are just some things that I've picked up recently and I've been seen in discussion, which gave me a little, situation. So I thought I'd do a video about it. So I hope you all found this interesting. If you can think of any double standards that you've seen in the fandom, or you yourself have figured out that you have, let me know in the comment section. I'd love to hear some of these. And as always, if you like Percy Jackson content, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, drop a thumbs up and share with your friends. Thank you all for tuning into this video, and I'll see you all next time.